the big news of the day, according to Shams Charania, Giannis Antetokounmpo is ready for a new home at the February 5th NBA trade deadline. And I'm reading the tweet that he put out earlier today. Quote, or in the offseason as several rival teams make aggressive offers to the Milwaukee Bucks for him, and the franchise is starting to listen. End quote. Brad, this is it was only a matter of when, not if. And this has been brewing for a while. It's been brewing since the offseason. Milwaukee, once Damian Lillard went down last year, and even with Damian Lillard, they weren't winning the East. They have been a very top-heavy team for a couple of years. They have not been able to build a successful team around Giannis, and a lot of that is on the GM, John Horst. Who did a really good job a few years ago in getting them an NBA title. But in the last couple of years, they have really struggled to put together a young, successful, dynamic team around Giannis. They have no depth. Doc Rivers, the hire of Doc Rivers was a terrible decision. And so they've just been kind of lagging along, like dragging themselves to the inevitable line that is where we're at right now, and that is Giannis is going to get traded, and I think he's going to get traded before the deadline. And I think Giannis is forcing every which card now that he possibly can. And he played it like the nice guy for a long time, for a while. He said, hey, I don't want to leave Milwaukee. This is my home. I want to try to win another title. They did what they could. They brought in Miles Turner. It hasn't worked. Giannis got hurt a couple of times. He's self-diagnosed himself now with a calf strain, so he's not playing. So that tells you everything you need to know. Giannis ain't going to play until he's in a new place. And if they don't trade him before the deadline, hell, he might not play the rest of the year. Like, I think that's a legitimate possibility. I think he's absolutely getting traded in the next 7 days here before the February 5th trade deadline. Where that is too, we're going to get to that in just a second. But are you surprised in the slightest by this news that came out today?
No, man. The breadcrumbs were on the ground. All I had to do was follow a very short path and reach that conclusion. Look, they got to blow up this organization anyway. Kind of start from scratch, stockpile young players, stockpile draft picks, and build for the future. I mean, they're just so mundane, so vanilla, so meh right now. You look at the performance of the court, with or without Giannis, they just haven't been consistently good. They have the 7th worst net efficiency in the NBA the entire season. They're 18-27 overall right now, so their heads below water and well behind in the playoff race or even the play-in race. This team is just sputtering right now, and they're rudderless. So, trading Giannis, who is not the happiest of campers there in Milwaukee, makes all the sense in the world, despite his dynamic skill set, despite the fact that he's all world, despite every time he takes the floor, he's a walking, talking triple-double. But having him exit stage left, build for the future, get some key pieces, and then make the right picks. That is a necessary move now for the Milwaukee Bucks, for them to get back to a certain level of respectability. So am I shocked? Not remotely shocked at all. I think I would have been more shocked if dude didn't reach the top of Taipei 101 the other day on Netflix.
That was unbelievable, by the way. I don't want to get off course,
yes.
But that was, what a sick freak that guy is. Solo free climbing that gigantic tower. Unbelievable. But yeah, look, this has been building and brewing, like you said, the breadcrumbs. And even just in the last week here, Giannis calls out his teammates. They're not playing hard. Guys are not playing together. Maybe I need to demand the ball more. Chemistry is off. He's shooting down Doc Rivers' comments. Basically, when Doc Rivers said, "Oh, we had dead legs," he goes, "No, that wasn't it." So look, this is beneficial for Milwaukee. They get a title. They got a title. Enjoy it. Right? Fear the deer. The Milwaukee Bucks. That was an unbelievable year. They'll never take that away. But it's time to move on. And they should have did it in the offseason, but they have an opportunity to do it now, and they can get back a really good haul of really good players and a lot of draft picks from a couple of teams. And the Bucks can then, tank the rest of the season. And, they can have a chance to maybe grab a top 5 pick in the draft. Hell, maybe they can get the number 1 pick, because if the Dallas Mavericks can do it last year, we know anything is possible. So really quickly, the Shams has also reported the Warriors, Knicks, Miami Heat, and Minnesota Timberwolves are all serious suitors for Giannis. and that Milwaukee would most likely want a package of first-round draft picks and young prospects, young potential talent. Now, here's the problem. When you trade Giannis Antetokounmpo, with the way that the NBA salary cap really penalizes teams who go over that, you got to match the salaries, or you at least got to come close to matching the salaries. And Giannis is set. His cap hit this year is $54.1 million. Next year, it's $58.4 million. And then he's got a player option in 2027-28 for $62.8 million. So it's not like, the Warriors, they don't have to give up Jimmy Butler or Steph Curry or Draymond. No, you have to. You have to at least come close to matching that average of $58 million here over the next 3 seasons. And I got to be honest, Brad, as a diehard Knicks fan, I feel like Giannis wants to come to New York really, really badly. The Knicks can't offer Milwaukee what they want. The Knicks can offer some young talent. They can offer some tremendous players like OG Anunoby. They can give them Karl Anthony Towns, who I don't even know why Milwaukee would want him because he's not a winning player. But he would at least, I guess, stabilize them. He could become a star. But the Knicks have no first-round draft picks. They gave them all up for Mikal Bridges, who has been a little disappointing, to say the least, so far in his first year and a half with the Knicks. So as much as I would really love and hope and pray that Giannis is coming to the Knicks, I don't think it's possible because the Knicks don't have the draft picks. And unless they're just going to give them OG and Mikal Bridges, no, Milwaukee wants young players and they want draft picks. They realize they've got to go full rebuild, maybe tank this thing for a year or two to try to build back up and be a strong contender once again. Giving them a couple of guys that are in their 30s and no draft picks does nothing. So you know who I think where Giannis is going to end up? I think he's going to get traded before the deadline. I think he's going to be on the Minnesota Timberwolves. I think it's going to be him and Anthony Edwards linking up. I think Minnesota will offer all the first-round draft, probably 3 or 4 first-round draft picks. And in addition, I think they give Julius Randle, without a doubt. Randle's going to Minnesota. He's going to Milwaukee. And Randle makes about $33 million a year. So then who's that other salary that gets you close? I guarantee you Milwaukee is going to say no deal unless we get Jaden McDaniels, one of the best defenders in the league and a guy that is a sensational all-around player. They're going to want those 2 guys. And then you probably talk about the 2 youngest talents on this team, and that is Terrence Shannon and that is Rob Dillingham.
Yeah.
Now, Rob Dillingham's been disappointing, but those 2 guys, Julius Randle, Jaden McDaniels, 3 to 4 first-round draft picks, I think you have a done deal there. Miami doesn't have much to offer outside of draft picks. They don't have the young, talented players that you could send back, not in surplus. And, they want, Milwaukee doesn't want Tyler Hero. They don't want Bam Adebayo. And the Warriors, what are they giving? The corpse of Jimmy Butler, who's recovering from a torn ACL.
Right.
The young talent that they have, Will Richard, Kuminga, my guy Kuminga, Brandon Pajemski, that's a decent package. Yep. That's not as good as what Minnesota can give him. I think he's going to be on the Timberwolves.
Yeah, I love the argument for the Timberwolves. And free Terrence Shannon, give him minutes. Please go to Milwaukee. The former ILL standout is barely getting enough tick coming off the bench. And we saw what he was able to do with the postseason last year when he actually got suitable minutes. He's a scoring machine. Guy gets downhill, can splish and splash him outside, a supreme defender as well. Terrence Shannon could eventually evolve on the floor to be in like a 15 points per game, 20 points per game kind of player with lockdown defense. So, yeah, I'd love that move, especially, again, if Milwaukee's in that direction. And I think you're 100% correct in that assessment of blowing this thing up, strap some dynamite to it, hurl a couple grenades, see it explode, and then you just rebuild from the scorched earth. And having Shannon, having Dillingham, having all those draft picks is the way to go. Because I could tell you this, Pat, this year's draft class is going to be absolutely loaded with talent. And Milwaukee, if they spend their draft capital correctly, could rebuild this sucker and in a hurry.
Yeah, and again, with Julius Randle, he's got 1 more year on his contract after this season. Then he's got a player option. So, I mean, look, they could also free him. They could also then trade him somewhere else in the offseason and mix and match and make some other ancillary moves, or they could just, that's probably what happened. Julius Randle will probably get traded after the season. Maybe they then redirect him. Maybe you get a third team in here with a big trade like this. Something like that always happens. but Jaden McDaniels would be the centerpiece of that package, along with all the first-round draft picks.